be one with the mic. So that's
Gotcha.
pro tip.
Thanks for the tips, guys.
Yeah. We're here for you, man. Good? Everything all set up?
That's it, brother.
Okay.
And with the slate, we are a go.
Slate 2.
Slate number 2. Welcome to the audio station. We are bringing the music to life. All the life behind music to light, really. My name is Luis Vasquez.
My name is still Andy Dinner.
And we're just bringing you up to speed with what's been happening in the city this week. In terms of shows...
let me cut you off right there.
Oh, please explain.
Because I went to a show on Monday,
Really?
Canada Day.
Did you?
I did. I saw, as we discussed last week, I saw Steely Dan again.
That's right, at the Budweiser stage, right?
At the Budweiser stage.
Man,
with the
so
Doobie
many
Brothers.
friends of mine were putting up like stories of like the whole show, and it looked phenomenal.
When
from
I
all
when I
sorts of
woke up
angles.
the next day and I was going through my phone, I was sitting, I'm like, holy fuck, were all these people at the show?
Yeah,
Like, I didn't run into anyone that I knew there. I ran into a couple friends of mine, but
huge following.
I was like, it was absolutely packed.
Yeah.
It was like,
I was surprised, to be honest.
I couldn't believe it because the last time I saw them play was at the Sony Center, and that was a sold out show.
Right,
But
that was smaller.
It was
smaller venue.
but like so
Not even,
I
like,
I
half
get
of the
there and, like
occupancy.
oh my, like I don't even know where I'm gonna sit down on this lawn right now.
You were in the lawn.
I was on the lawn. Yeah, I'm gonna lay down on the lawn for sure. And beautiful show, absolutely.
You can't go
wonderful
wrong
show.
with lawn tickets over at the Budweiser. I've seen the Prophets of Rage there, Foo Fighters. Like it's a little weird
love
of
to see
sound
Prophets
because of
of
the
Rage.
delay. You don't get that like thuddy.
Yeah, but
And the vibes are amazing.
The
outside.
band members are literally sizes of ants, but
Yeah.
they have a cool backdrop that you can barely see at
Yeah.
all.
So you liked it, eh? It was great.
I had a good time. Yeah, I was a little intoxicated there. It adds to the allure of the show, and
It's implied, man.
Yeah.
Like I swear they should just sell acid with their tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like that type of band.
I mean, they were probably on acid while performing as
Most
well.
likely.
Because you know that like back in the day, like even the Rolling Stones were like, "Yo, we're not partying with Steely Dan. Those guys go out of control."
Those guys go hard.
Like fucking the Rolling Stones said that they wouldn't party with Steely Dan because they're too fucking crazy.
Mick Jagger wasn't down. He's like, yo, that guy's fucked.
Wouldn't like if those guys, Keith Richards, are like, no way, man. Like it was bad. Like
Yeah.
they were like, not just dabbling, but they were like heroin addicts as well.
Jesus.
Like while making this beautiful music, it's like
Inspiration. You never know where it's gonna come from.
Heroin.
I saw
Do
Chromeo
heroin.
over at the Danforth Music Hall.
Wait, you saw that or is he coming?
No. I saw Chromeo. It was,
Oh!
Yeah, like I have this app called Game Time. Shout out to Game Time.
You just told me about this Game Time, and you need to fill everyone in on
All
Game
right,
Time because
so
it sounds.
I don't know what their business model is. I don't even know how they're making any money at all. But
That's my
they're-
first thought.
Yeah, seriously, they have all sorts of shows and for all sorts of tickets for all sorts of shows in Toronto that are selling for literally half the price of the face value for any ticket. I went to see Justin Timberlake in the 100 sections the day of. I bought the ticket, $22, $22, and I saw Chromeo for $8, and $4 of that was a service charge.
Like those are like local band shows at Club Rocket back in the day. It was like $8. Like,
Yo, a movie's more expensive.
yeah.
Like,
Well, movies
take
have been
that in.
expensive for a long fucking
Yeah.
time. It's out of control.
But yeah, that was a crazy light show, like super tight Montreal funky duo. They've been around for a long time, even back in the LimeWire days. They even did a little shout out to LimeWire. They're like, shout out to LimeWire. That's like where we made our first few hits. And like, yeah, like they've been around, and you can tell like they really work a crowd. They're a little cheesy, you know, like they're really fucking tight and really good.
Who isn't these days though? Cheese is what sells.
It kind of
You need
is,
to
you
have
know.
something cheesy about
to
you.
to a certain degree, but yeah, this week is actually super crazy packed full of really good shows. July just started. It's 5th of July now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're almost into fully the first
I
week
think we
of
discussed
July.
this last week. I have no idea what day it is ever anymore. Everything is a blur. Life is a blur.
Hey man, if you don't have a 9 to 5, like you're probably just gonna be living every day like it's it's a party.
I sleep 9 to 5. That's my sleep schedule. Is 9 to 5. While everyone's at work, I'm in bed.
Yep. Afrofest, July 6th to 7th. That's tomorrow and the day after. Just Friday and Saturday.
What's Afrofest? Fill me in. That sounds interesting.
Afrofest is a bunch of African American groups, just all sorts of DJs, and like celebrating, Black culture in the Eastern set. I'm not the person to be talking about this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
But yeah, like really great DJs, just like Afro punk, neo soul, all sorts of types of acts that are just phenomenal. Way too many to name. Really great. Shania Twain at the ACC. That's
that don't impress me much.
That's pretty legendary though. She's been around for a while.
Man, I feel like a woman.
Saturday is gonna be crazy for shows. There's DJ Jassy Jeff at Copacabana Pool Bar.
Don't even get me started.
The man's a legend.
Yeah, he is.
The man's been around.
Yeah, he's been around.
He just spins like nobody else. It's crazy. He's a real true inspiration. Back at Budweiser stage on July 7th also.
I wish I could see that.
Yeah, Bell's Atlas at Lee's Palace. A pretty good band. And our friends, real good friends, Millhouse at the Hard Luck. I knew these guys when they were called I think Young Underwater, and we were a 3-piece, but then I got too busy like doing my own stuff.
Don't lie, they kicked you out. They don't want anything to do with you.
Man, stop! I told you not to tell. We're live, all right? These stories stay between us.
I think I'm still sleeping.
All right, I got exposed. I got kicked out. No, but
stop yelling. Stop screaming.
They really kill it as a 2-piece. I can understand when they've continued. It's just like way more control, way more dynamic between the two. It's like very Death from Above, Royal Blood vibe.
I've always loved the small groups, like 2 or 3 pieces, just because it's way tighter.
Yeah,
it's just there's you have one guitar string out of tune and everything sounds like shit, but
it's more dynamic and it's easier to tap into that inspiration and like just random spontaneity of doing stuff. Because like if you have chemistry with the other guy, you can just switch it up and they can follow, right?
Yeah.
With a full band, you got to practice that. And there's no way you can just like, maybe I'll add a little like groove here.
I have a hard enough time just connecting with you and finding a chemistry with you, and the second someone else is around, all out the window. It's like I'm lost here.
Man, conversations and music are so like most people don't even actually take in how closely related those are. Music is a conversation, really, between musicians, translating like harmonic context and feelings into sound. It's just like we're saying words and they make some sort of sense and then we just respond. It's conversation, you know what I'm saying?
A songversation, if you will.
That's right.
Yeah.
That July 7th is going to be packed, full of shows. Check them out on there's all sorts of websites online. You can look at whatever. My personal favorite for looking at what's going around, Blog.to is like for the mainstream sort of things that are happening in the city, but Concerts.to has literally every single show that you can think of, as long as it's listed through the promoters. It's in there. Even like really like very low populated shows that only like 10 people will show up. Like, they'll be on that website.
And that's the thing. Like I remember, like we were looking at that website. It was a week or two ago, and I'm like, this thing just, it keeps on going. The scrolling, and on certain days there's like 12, 15 different shows on one night.
All different genres too. It's crazy.
Like, I haven't heard of any of these people, and but
Toronto is a real pool of like raw talent and inspiration, and on the other side of the whole coin, it's also a town full of like professional and like well polished acts. Most of them that are mainstream end up being more like R&B and pop, and but there's still some really great bands like Alexis on Fire, Cancer Bats that are still going around.
Cancer Bats are the shit, man. Oh, that band is killing it right now. I think they just kicked off their European tour for the newest.
They actually, for those of you that don't know, we shoot this show live at Rehearsal Factory every Thursday, and Cancer Bats actually has a studio downstairs at the bottom floor. I've ran into them a couple of times, and they're just really great dudes, like big beards and like just really friendly. Like
shout out to Scotty Middleton, what a beauty.
Yeah, we'll definitely get them on at some point. They've got some real stuff to share. But yeah, in terms of shows, like it's jam-packed week. The heat is fucking real. It's crazy.
If you don't have AC, you're probably gonna die, and I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
It's horrific.
It's horrific. Feel bad. Like if you're in Toronto with this heat and you're not getting AC, what do you do?
Let me put it this way. In the winter, there was a period of time where, and you can look this up, it was fucking colder than Antarctica in Toronto.
That's right.
At a period of time.
Yeah.
Then this week, for most of the time, we are hotter than the fucking Sahara Desert.
Is that real?
I swear to God. Name any place that like fluctuates that much.
No,
that is out of control.
Yeah, Toronto's.
How are we alive as a city? Like,
just a lot of. I think that's why it's the capital, or the screw face capital of the world is what people call it. Everyone's just looking down all their energies into like, I gotta keep my body temperature. I gotta get where I'm going.
Living in this city is a struggle. It's a battle.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have it any other way.
This city is beautiful in so many ways, but with beauty comes its whole other.
Those 2.5 combined weeks throughout the year. It is beautiful here.
Maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
If you're lucky.
If
you're lucky.
Depending on the decade.
Man, it's true. Like there's a sweet spot, and it's like 3 weeks, and before that it's freezing. After that, you're sweating your balls off.
And then in maybe October, just 1 week where it's like, all right, and then
you get kicked in the ass with some
winter's
snow.
coming. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard. But yeah, like I can't say enough about this city. For those of you that don't know, I moved here 15 years ago, and things were very different. I've seen this city progress in so many ways, just in a decade even, and that's really a big part of the reason why this podcast is happening, because like. The changes in the city, a lot of them positive, right? But I've seen a lot of loss of just soul, or just that general interest in going out to see a random band in a random place, just for the sake of trusting the bars to have good content often. Once the internet came and everybody was so stuck to their own ways, now the only way you were going to see a band is if it's promoted directly to you, or like you actually like the artist and you're gonna go buy tickets. But when I went over to Chicago, like it was more of I got a lot of the vibe. I went to Chicago last year to play with a band I was in called Neuro, and the band was not bad, but here we played to like 12, 20 people at max. Over there, nobody knew us. 0 people knew us. We packed the place because we were a Canadian band, right? I was hammered by the end of the night. I didn't buy a single drink. All right, like people were just like, if you're good and you're like talented in their eyes and they resonate with you, they'll just they actually truly appreciate it. Well, it's like personally that's like a favor to them.
Like that's why there's a lot of Canadian artists that are essentially saying, "Fuck this country, we're just gonna try and get big in the States."
Unfortunately, it's so true.
It's true. I know personally multiple bands that do just that. They have a very small following in Ontario, but then when they go to the States, it's night and day.
Everybody wants to get to LA, New York. All the promoters and the scenes there are on another level. It's its own flavor and its own sense and its own attitude. Specifically New York. Like when you hear a New York rapper, you're listening to a New York rapper. There's a sound there. There's a style there. If you're listening to an LA like punk band, that surfy rock sort of feel. It's always there. I'm just being general, right? Because
in Toronto, I don't think you really get that. No, you don't get a specific Toronto sound.
You get a lot of different things.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's because it's all over the place.
Specifically now, I think the most congruent thing is probably just that sleepy, trappy thing that Drake and OVO has been like pushing. You know what I'm saying? The Weeknd.
If it works for you, it works for you, and it's working out for them in billions of ways.
Yeah, I mean, like there's stuff for something out there for everyone in this city. Which brings me to my next topic, and I actually want to introduce our guest. His name is Bryan Muise, and we're gonna have him talk about a little bit about the city. I'm just gonna introduce him, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah. So let's bring him out.
Bring him out. Right Right on. So we want to welcome our guest, Bryan Muise here.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, yeah.
Documentary filmmaker.
Thanks for coming in. Just try to like talk sort of close to the mic, or else you'll sound like you're way over there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like you try to eat it, and we've learned from experience that I can't move around. I can't be myself because I can't be all.
Can't be all
over the place.
wavy and wacky.
I have to be one with the mic. So that's
Gotcha.
pro tip.
Thanks for the tips, guys.
Yeah.
We're here for you, man.
That's what we're here for. Yeah, but thanks for coming, man. I saw your documentary, Give a Shit, and I was really inspired by what you're trying to do. What you were trying to do, like sort of bring a sort of light to what the Toronto music scene is really all about. And I saw it, and I was like, so congruent actually with what this podcast is trying to do. So, yeah, man. Like, I would love to get your opinion on like the Toronto music scene. I mean, like, not just in general. How did you begin to just like you're like I want to make this documentary? What was the defining factor that like made you start the whole process?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. At the time I was going to Humber College for film, and essentially we had a project come up, and basically we had to pitch our idea. Mm-hmm. And how it works is we essentially pitch it to the class, and whatever many votes get kind of goes through.
That's
kind of the next semester you start making it. But the thing is, it essentially started with Exclaim. My buddy Bradley Zordrager, who's kind of really in the scene, especially the metal side of it.
Good dude.
Good dude.
Yeah, I like that guy a lot. We've had a couple conversations and
exactly. He's a smart guy. Like he's amazing.
He gives a good interview. Like
he does.
Like and especially with his work with Converge, that they shout out to Brad, man. That guy, I really want him on the show sometime soon. So I'm gonna plug that. You better fucking come on one day, bud.
Anyway, so I basically reached out to him, and I was like, just because he was very well connected in the city, and I kind of like recently moved here from out west in BC. Like I was there for 2 years.
Cool.
Before that, I was in Kitchener, so I kind of move around a lot.
Right on.
But
where in BC?
In Kelowna, actually, Kelowna BC, about 4 hours from Vancouver.
Right on, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But anyways, I basically talked to Brad. I was like, hey, do you have any, maybe any friends or anyone with companies that would kind of be a cool little 10-minute documentary for school?
And he obviously did.
Yeah, and he obviously was like, yo, do you Exclaim? And I was like, all right, maybe we could set something up. Maybe we could, interview a couple local bands, Exclaim staff.
And this was, 2014, 2015?
I want to say, probably 2015.
Shout out to the rain.
Perfect.
Oh, there you go. I don't know if that picked up on the mics, but it is some thunderous.
Yeah, it was hot as hell, sunny all day, and then as soon as we start podcasting, thunder.
Perfect time.
Perfect time.
Love it.
Yeah. And anyways, so I basically was doing that. I started doing like cold emails to people, like bands and stuff, saying you would want to talk with Exclaim.
Yeah, just reaching out to everyone you wanted to talk to.
And basically how I wrote it originally was I kind of wanted to go through with Ian Danzig of Exclaim. He's kind of like the founder, publisher.
Okay.
Like, he basically just started this thing. It's like his baby. So I basically sat down with him, and I was like, okay, maybe we can do an interview and just kind of guide you through, and then kind of off branching of that, maybe talk to bands, kind of what's going on in the city, just because they're a part of the scene.
Yeah, for sure. And that, I mean, you obviously got to do that pretty well. Like,
thanks.
Got a lot of links and really good.
Yeah, exactly.
I was blown away. Like I just artist after artist after artist. I was like, how the fuck did he get all of these people to be a part of this, man? Like
the same reaction for me.
Yeah, and I'm like, one after the other. I'm like, yo, like you did your work, man, and like that's why I'm glad to have you on here to talk about your experience making the documentary. And I'm one of the things we were discussing earlier is like, why did you come up? Why the name Give a Shit?
Sure. Well, it was kind of funny. Like as I was mentioning, it was originally supposed to be about Exclaim primarily, but then as I kind of was going through it, it became like technically like an hour-long documentary, but it was kind of like 2 docs in one. It was like one about Exclaim and then one kind of about more of like the pop punk Toronto scenes kind of going on.
Yeah.
I see. One more, a little more mainstream, one more close to heart.
Exactly, because like Exclaim isn't limited to one genre, right? They basically cover everything.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what they wanted to depict. And I totally understand, because I talked to Ian and he was like, I see you have 2 docs here. Like it'd be kind of cool maybe if you had just one on the scene and then just one on us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I basically was working on the Exclaim one. I haven't really heard back yet, so I'm kind of just leaving it it for now in case
Sure.
they want me to touch it. But,
Yeah.
But anyway, so I kind of focused more on the scene one. I kind of like basically cut it in half. I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna make this short, sweet, to the point, stick to this one topic. And essentially, that's kind of what happened. And
Cool.
I originally came up with Give a Shit because I was basically just trying to think of a cool way to combine Exclaim and the music scene. So it originally was called Give a Shit, but instead of shit, it was actually the symbols of Exclaim.
Okay.
So like number,
Oh.
exclamation point, etc.
Okay.
That
So,
makes sense.
That, okay, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
and then
That's- yeah.
essentially, like once I kind of cut ties, like, okay, this isn't about Exclaim. This isn't like their name or anything on
Yeah.
it. Like, they're in it, but it's not about them.
So what is the main reason? You said you cut ties, right? What is it
Yeah.
that made you like not want to pursue that like venue anymore? Avenue of being with them.
Yeah, like there was no like issue with it. It was more so a lot of my like passion was for the scene part of it. Like Exclaim was like it was good. It was kind of like a little fluff piece for them, kind of
Yeah.
what they've been doing. You know
Yeah.
how they kind of transitioned online.
Yeah,
from
I've read their
print.
magazine. Like, I mean, they come out with
Yeah.
one weekly, I think.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's a
yeah.
lot of content and a lot of coverage and a lot of things. But I can imagine that it might have been a little too corporate for a creative type.
Yeah, like it was very kind of commercially, like as it was
Yeah.
kind of laying out, and it was fine. I had nothing wrong with it, but I had a lot more content with the scene one, so I kind of rolled with that, and
Right.
and then I didn't really hear much from Exclaim, so I was like, well, I'll do my own thing, kind of see where
Yeah,
it goes.
just put it to the side a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
Makes
And
sense,
so
makes
yeah, I
sense.
started out with a few emails, you know, a few band members and stuff, and then kind of just kept going.
Like,
Yeah.
what was? So you sent out a huge net of emails to all of
Yeah.
these different artists. When you were going through your email and you get notifications and everything like that, what was the name that made you like stop in your tracks? Like, who were you like? Holy shit! Is this not? You didn't even read it yet, so you just saw the name and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, this person got back to me." Even if
Can't
it said
believe they
no,
got
they
back.
emailed me.
Yeah.
Like, who
Honestly.
for you? What person meant the most to you that they either got back to you or like
Can I
who was
guess?
your best interview?
Can I
Yeah,
guess?
yeah.
Wade McNeil?
Honestly, that was the one. And it honestly was started as I interviewed I emailed. It was just like a random booking agent that kind of covered a lot of Ontario bands.
Okay,
So then
that's
I
a
was
good
like, it was a
idea.
shot in the dark. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, do you have anyone that would be in the city that kind of wants to talk? And it's like at the
Do
time I was like,
I?
it's kind of like yeah, exactly right. And then they're like, oh well, Wade's probably gonna be in town. He's flying from Montreal. And I was like I honestly thought they were just fucking with me. And I was just like,
Psych, idiot!
yeah.
For those of you that aren't super familiar with the Toronto rock or indie scene, Wade McNeil is actually the bassist. Is he the bassist? Yeah, the bassist for a super popular band, Alexis on Fire. Most people that are into any Canadian music know exactly who that is. You gotta be, I think, younger than like their age to actually really appreciate what they were trying to do. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
really it inspired a lot of the scene that is continuing nowadays still.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, personally speaking, like, I loved Alexis on Fire, and when I found out that they were Canadian, I was ecstatic. I was like, it gave me hope for being able to actually put a body of work that's internationally recognizable, you know? So yeah, shout out to Alexis on Fire and Wade McNeil.
I remember back I think it might have been like 1999 or the year 2000, like a long time ago. Show like at the Masonic Lodge in Streetsville, Mississauga, where like it's a venue like it packed. You could fit 150 people in there comfortably, but there was many more than 150 people.
probably
Like that's
double that.
like
Yeah.
that was the first time that I ever saw them, and it's like to see what they've done since then. It's like.
Man, you saw them in that small venue? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's intimate.
Oh yeah,
as
same with
fuck.
Cancer Bats. They had a show. I think it was at Q Bar and at the 360, and like I went to their first couple shows there, and
Yeah.
you'd have a handful of people there, and like now, they're doing a sold out European tour
Yeah.
for their new album, Spark That Moves. Right? It's like, we got some guys, man. We got some powerhouses, and like.
It's true.
You were able to nail some pretty good people to have those to involve in your documentary, and like you have those names pop up, and it keeps you wanting to watch it and everything.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it kind of it was like more of a snowball effect, which is actually the reason I kind of stopped doing it with school. I ended up dropping out because this thing was kind of kept going, and then I just wasn't feeling school anymore, so I literally dropped out and just kind of pursued this thing until I was happy with it. And it was essentially, it just kept snowballing, so I was like, I can't fit this in 10 minutes, so all of a sudden, like, you know, you talk to one band, they're like, yo, like, maybe you can talk to this band, and that's kind of how it kind of went, and then...
One thing leads to another.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I know all about that, especially in the Toronto music scene. I actually didn't even know how to speak English 10 years ago. And through music,
we can tell. We can tell.
And through music, and I was doing the thing, and no, but it was actually through just the music and like listening to lyrics and like trying to understand what it meant that I got to like really know a lot of definitions and expressions and really artistic ways of saying things through music, right? Because schools teach you grammar and like spelling and like ways to articulate, like they make you read Shakespeare so that, you know, it's like really challenging and like really hard to grasp your head around. I wasn't really interested in that. To me, my Shakespeare was like, I don't know, like Pink Floyd growing up, like those lyrics that don't really make sense unless you're like high. It was like a big part of like me growing up in the Toronto music scene. I say Toronto music scene because like I feel other cities have more of like a one sound. Like you go to Nashville, you know what kind of music you're gonna go listen to, right? It's slightly country, slightly more like electric, acoustic. You go to LA, you're gonna be listening to a different type of thing, even if
Motley
it is
Crue
hip hop
only, that's
or rock. It's a right. It's like it's a specific sound. Chicago, New York, they all have their sounds, and Toronto has like it's a unique taste of like a lot of all of it put together, and it depends where you look where you'll actually get that niche.
Yeah,
I find
because you have like because it's a rather short documentary. It's only half an hour, and you know what you can cover in the Toronto music scene in half an hour. It's basically one genre, right? Which is like you had little pieces here and there of like other genres, like, you know, the Drake and the Weeknd were brought up very temporarily, and like you could have a 2-hour documentary on just those two artists and what they've done, right? And you got Justin Bieber and Alessia Cara too that are breaking ground all over the world, and most people don't even know that they're from or like these parts, the GTA. Yeah,
you know? Like
GTA. Yeah, we'll just say Southern Ontario at this point, right?
But I think Canada and Toronto music gets labeled as like, oh, that's like Weeknd, Drake, Justin Bieber, where like, I mean, we're from
No, it's
here,
not
so
Canada.
It's
Southern Ontario, baby. Yeah.
That was
Who really runs this shit? Yeah,
exactly.
And I recognize that you were just trying to bring a little bit of perspective to people that might not be from here.
Exactly, and even if they aren't like super comfortable with the pop punk scene or anything like that, I kind of, as you said, I was kind of touching on little parts as well, just to show people, you know, we have quite the variety. Like you're gonna find a scene that is like supportive of you and kind of your belief system, right? So
I think you said it in the documentary. Every night you can find 12 shows in every different genre in any sort of venue, like all over the city. And man, I totally agree. It's kind of like it's a blessing and a curse. Sometimes there'll be a rock band and then a DJ will close, right? And then the DJ gets like $300 and the band got like $100. And then everyone's just left there confused.
Split 5 ways.
like what did they? He just did he wasn't even playing. Like
that's still a talent, man. It's still an art.
Oh, absolutely.
No,
now that I mix music, I understand that it's a whole different like skill set of like knowing a room and playing what the room wants without asking. Like that's hard, right? But I feel like getting 5 people to do like one thing together is a lot harder. But yeah, man, thanks for sharing your thoughts on the whole podcast. Or sorry, the whole documentary.
Oh, no worries, man. Yeah, as you said, it's just like what you guys are doing, you know? I just wanted people to get excited about music again and kind of just go out and enjoy it, you know, without kind of overthinking it. Unfortunately, that's what the internet did, but
yeah, unfortunately, but you know.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna show a minute clip from the documentary, give people who haven't seen it like an idea of what it's about, and then after that we'll come back and discuss it all.
Perfect.
Thanks, man. Thanks,
man.
Here's a clip.
I think Toronto has this like incredibly thriving, creative music community. I think it always has. I think right now the rest of the world is noticing because of Drake and The Weeknd and those dudes like blowing up in such a huge way. But like Toronto has been consistently putting out like so much interesting music forever.
When I was first starting out in Toronto, that was in 1999, 2000, it was definitely a real community. And, I came up with Broken and Feist and Alexis on Fire and those type of bands. So there was a sense of community there. I still believe that that is still part of what Toronto is.
So that was a short little clip of the documentary Give a Shit. Again, we're joined by Bryan Muise, the filmmaker who made it, and thanks again for coming out. And
Well, thanks for having me,
yeah,
guys.
man, I thought the way that it was edited and all put together is, I enjoyed watching it. It's always fun watching something that's about your hometown and music scenes that you're involved in. It's kind of like, it gives you a little bit more of that interest in it. It's
Perfect. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I'm glad it came across the way I
Yeah,
kinda
man.
was hoping.
Honestly, you had a lot of footage in there. It must have been like crazy to edit it all. It was all sorts of shows, all sorts of like slow mo cam stuff too.
Yeah, it was.
Really awesome.
It did add up. Yeah.
I was amazed. Even though the cinematography was awesome, the narrative was really cool, and the perception of like what you were trying to say was like solid. I'm kind more than anything just confused why there was any backlash at all. In my opinion, I initially think that it's just because like people are so like invested in like their identity into like a certain piece of music, and if it's not represented in something like a Toronto scene like documentary, it's almost like, what about me?
Yeah, that's
so
true,
like
that.
what do you think was like the major causes for like the backlash, even though it was like such a
what
good
I've been
project?
hearing was I hear the title was a major issue, which is funny because technically the title was only Give a Shit.
Is it because it's a swear word, or is it
I think it was more so because on the posters and things and on the actual like Vimeo link, I like added like a dash next to it and said a short documentary about the Ontario music scene. So because of that, everyone expected every single scene, and because I didn't include everyone, they felt like it wasn't inclusive and that I was leaving out people on purpose and that it was more males than
Ontario's
females.
huge.
Yeah.
Ontario, like if you were to touch on every city's scene, you would have like a documentary series of like 30 different types of like genres. Like that's crazy.
Have you considered doing like a series of half hour? Because I think that'd be
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Because I mean, it was well done in terms of the editing and all of that. And, like, you have it was about a half hour long, and about 20 minutes of it is about like the pop punk, like hardcore kind of scene there. And there is just so much more. Like you could definitely, if you wanted to, like definitely make a series about it. Like half hour episodes about every single scene. And I think if you were in charge of that, especially with the success of who you were able to get the first time,
It could go
you
somewhere
interview,
for sure.
You could
Yeah.
do something
I could
with
see
that,
that.
man. Like I think that's what you should be doing. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you have to take the video down, which is unfortunate because it's you put your heart and soul into it, right? Like
yeah, and unfortunately, yeah, it's kind of a fine line with documentaries, because they're actual people. You can look them up.
Yeah.
And I just made a bunch of new music connections because I was just starting my videography company. So this was like my big project. So I was like, I really don't want to burn these bridges. I just don't want to come across as a shitty individual. So I just, kind
Yeah,
of
you
put it
wanna be
out there.
professional.
And yeah, exactly. So then, I made that apology post and took it down. But the funny thing is about that, like I posted like my email, just saying like, oh, what can I change? What would make you guys happy? And I really received basically no responses. I think I received one email.
Classic.
So it was just an interesting thing where it kind of put it into perspective,
Yeah.
where I was just like, well, you can't be that mad about it if you don't want me.
'Cause-
If you're not coming with me as a person.
Yeah, I mean, because you have a lot of people that that will put their heart and soul into it, and won't consider certain things when making the documentary, and they'll get some either called out or there'll be some criticism about that, and then they double down. It's like, no, fuck you, I made this story, and you went the complete opposite way to a point where you took it down, like had an apology letter that was heartfelt, right?
Yeah, it's very humble.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, because it's one of those things where it's like someone will post let's say CTV Canada will go and they'll post a news article about something that's completely false, and then in a couple of days they'll retract that and say there was an error here. the amount of people that will see that there was an error in their last report, guess what? 2 million people saw that news report earlier, and only like 100,000 saw. So they still have, like, there's still like that huge amount of people that don't know that this was a fake story or whatever. And in correlation to that, it's like, compared to how many people saw the documentary and how many people voiced their opinions on it, how many people do you think saw that, you know, your response to that and you taking it down? You know, so like that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you out here to, you know, to like, you know, further talk about that, because, you know, the fact that, you know, you took it down still kind of blows my mind, but like, you know, it's also admirable at the same time.
Totally
right?
admirable.
It's like the fact that like that must have been hard to fucking do. That must have been one of the hardest things you ever had to do, is like hit that fucking delete button.
Honestly,
right?
it was. Yeah, like the first day it was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it was just something I put, you know, like half a year into, and then unfortunately, like, I wanted to be about the music, but it kind of got lost about who was actually in it. But
you know, it's like having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
You know, like, think about all the people, like, and you were saying earlier, how many people you messaged that didn't get back to you.
Yeah,
you know,
quite a few. Yeah.
Right, and you know how many interviews had to get cut from the documentary due to either a poor interview or it just not fitting the flow of it.
Exactly, because I basically went into it, I was like, okay, I'm going to ask these questions, this is kind of the answers I'm looking for, and then whoever gave me those answers, that's kind of who stayed in it.
Yeah, so there was there was a bit of a narrative there going into
For sure.
it. Okay.
Yeah, but I really do think the experience and the networking, I mean, just from speaking to you and like the people that you've met, I think I believe that it was valuable to you, you know, like outside of, even if the documentary didn't get any real traction or recognition, like I can totally see that you can do things in the future because you've experienced this, right? So you're more like, you're more likely to just go into an avenue that's going to be more congruent in what you're trying to do without getting any sort of public backlash, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically,
it's live and learn, man. That's the name of the game.
Like, be happy that it happened now, as opposed to like when you're an established filmmaker. And, like,
exactly.
And then like
then the backlash doesn't go away.
Right after your 10, 15 year career, and then like then this happens, and like, you know, it's a learning lesson, and the fact that, you know, you're actually learning from it and trying to like, you know, better make it better. And it's like, I honestly, like, I'm gonna double down on it. Like, I really think that you should do like a series, man. Really, like, I think you should go into specific scenes and like, you know, do a series, cool. Man.
No, honestly,
I really do. That would be.
I have been thinking about it.
We'd be all I know Lou and I would have your back on that. Like, absolutely. Be all about it and use whichever contacts we have to help you out to make like a solid like Toronto music series.
Yeah, that'd actually be amazing.
Yeah,
like really fucking cool.
Yeah, and you got the talent and the editing and all that, and to do it, and you know you obviously you already have your contacts, and I think that'd be like, and then again, I'm just some idiot from Toronto, so you don't really need to listen to anything that I have to say. But you know, I think that's like, in my opinion, that'd be a good way of going about it, man. Like, really, and then
honestly, I can see that. Yeah.
So like, thank you again.
Yeah, dude,
you
thanks
know?
a lot.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. It's just great hearing this side of it. You know,
I'm just happy to have you here. It's a very like-minded mentality. I think we share. And actually, now that we got to see a little bit of the documentary, and if anybody is interested in seeing the documentary, you can actually message Bryan directly or his media group. What was the name of it?
Yeah, if you want to plug that
Samsara
right now.
Media is actually the company I've been working with now. It's basically just me and my girlfriend. She's like my producer, and I kind of just do everything else.
Cool. It's like a mom and pop sort of run shop.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we kind of just...
And the documentaries are the babies, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just funny because the doc was actually very change of pace for me. So I usually do music videos and like horror movies and stuff. So this was very out of kind of left field for me. So.
That's cool. I gotta...
So yeah, if you're interested in checking out that documentary, please reach out to him. There's a whole bunch of other really cool content on that website, and
Samsara Media.
That's
Samsara.
right.
Samsara.
Yep. And,
figure it out. You
yeah.
can figure it out.
Shouldn't be too many.
Flash up a link at the bottom of the screen. If
we wanted to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah.
Just since now that we get a view of your perception of the Toronto music scene. I got this game actually a couple days ago at Indigo, right? It's called Songversations. Shout out to the guy who made this, because like it's a brilliant game. It's basically a whole bunch of these cards. I'm just gonna explain it real quick. And they all have questions on them that are music related, like What song instantly makes you feel cooler? What song or artist do you think is overrated? Or like, you know, name a song that you didn't like at first, but eventually learned to love. Just all sorts of questions based around music to get people's sort of background of taste and like experience. Because I feel like music shapes a lot of how we perceive the world, especially now with genres being so close to our identity, something I was mentioning earlier. So like a lot of memories are also attached to like songs that we heard or like certain events and certain concerts that we went to see. So I thought this game was brilliant. Like, again, shouts out to that. But yeah, I want you to draw a card and then you're gonna read out the question. And we will play out that song because Andy's here he's got YouTube and the whole internet alongside with it.
Yeah, I'm ready to go with anything here.
Yeah, go crazy.
That one.
So,
by the way,
I just read that one.
By the way,
let's do a
Wade
different
McNeil was lead guitar. You guys said bass. Wade McNeil is lead guitar of Alexis on Fire. Going back to our first segment.
Oh, wow.
You guys were wrong. Wrong.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alexis.
Sorry, go on. I proved you wrong.
A or B side?
So A is the side with the question, and B is the follow-up question.
Okay.
So the question that Brian here drew, what's a song from the last concert you went to? First of all, what's the last concert you went to?
What's the last one I went to? I think, honestly, the last one I went to was Knocked Loose, actually, at Velvet.
Nice.
I think that was the last one I went to.
Oh, yeah? How was that?
Oh, that was a wild night. That was very aggressive, very intense, but everyone was so tight.
Yeah.
It was actually cool. There was, in Year of the Knife, I believe they're called. They played that night, and they were actually one of my favorite bands that played. And
cool.
So, was it the song you wanted?
Yeah, what's the song that stood out to you?
Evil by Year of the Knife. Like, that one
Evil.
It just hit you. And they had actually a female in their band, and she actually played for a couple of the bands that night. So I guess she was just filling in, which was actually really cool. But she like had the most like aggression I saw. It's just cool seeing, you know, more females coming up in hardcore because
it's like when I think of hardcore females, like it's true. I wish there was more because like I can only think of Arch Enemy. You know what I mean? Like outside of that, it's like very like small. Like,
like
bands.
it's coming up, but you know it's still not a lot. Yeah.
And what kind of concerts do you like?
Honestly, like anything. I love just going, just randomly kind of strolling down, and if there's some shows going on,
so
kind of pop in.
You like finding shows? Is
Oh
that,
yeah, for sure. And obviously, you know, I'll bookmark kind of bands that I listen to on the reg, and just like, hey, they're coming to Toronto. I kind of got to get some tickets. And
yeah, I personally agree. I love the intimate atmosphere, being close to the musician, and like being able to like actually feel like you could reach out and like talk to them. You know, I went to see Anomaly and this band called Nowhere at the Horseshoe last Tuesday, and it was just, you know, the Horseshoe is not too big. There wasn't too much. There's a Montreal pianist, a classically trained pianist with a full backing band playing ridiculous funk stuff, like insane things that you're like, how is that real? Like that's nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Super intricate and like there wasn't any like security in front or whatever barriers. So I love that intimate sort of environment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
You're kind of on the same level, and
I go to see big stadium rock shows, and a little bit of the vibe is lost. I feel like it's like it's really cool and it's loud and it's the whole 1,000 or whatever people like chanting the same song, doing the same thing. It's a real unification or a unifying vibe.
Yeah.
But it's not as like, I don't know, close to home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
It's not as like, that's I could be there, right? It's more like distant. It's more like, oh, that's like an idol. And you know, I love like the Foo Fighters or Queens of the Stone Age or Rage, Prophets of Rage, which I've all seen at the Budweiser stage. But all of those shows have been a little bit like, oh, okay, like I wish I was closer, but to get closer, it's like $200 minimum, you know, like, so I prefer smaller shows.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it's just more tight knit and kind of just know who you're seeing, and usually for the most part, and even if you don't, you're meeting new people that are kind of like-minded. You know, it's pretty cool.
And that's what I love about the Toronto music scene. You never know who you're gonna see, and you never know who you're gonna meet.
Yeah.
And running out of time. You want to ask one more quick question here, and
Yeah, sure.
Move on.
Actually, we might run out of time before
Just
we
in
get to
general.
the end of the
Okay.
end of the question.
Okay. Bye.
So this has been Bryan Muise. I'm Luis Vasquez,
I'm Andy Danner.
and thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
This is the audio station, and we're bringing the life behind music to light. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Next week, quick plug. We got the gentleman in the band, Cold Shoulder. They're going to be coming in Toronto Hardcore. Let's do this up.
Really good.